I've been designing YouTube thumbnails for over 10 years, and I've worked with some of the biggest creators on the platform. In this video, you're going to learn the simple step-by-step process to make faces pop in your thumbnails. And trust me, this alone can be the difference between 100 views and 100,000 views. I'll break down how MrBeast gets that super polished, cartoony look, and I'll also show you how to create a more realistic, raw style that still pops like Ryan Trahan. But the real question is, which one actually gets you more views? Let's break down the differences so you know exactly which style is right for your channel. In the MrBeast thumbnail, the faces are extremely clean and colorful. The skin is smooth, the eyes and teeth are bright white, and the lighting is flat and even. This style is built for speed. You don't have to think. You instantly read the emotion. Psychologically, that makes it perfect for a younger audience. Here, the face feels much more realistic. The skin has real texture, the eyes and teeth aren't pushed to pure white, and nothing feels over-processed. This style is designed for viewers who value authenticity and storytelling. The face still pops, but for a different reason. It pops because it feels real, and the biggest difference here is the lighting. Now that you know which style is better for your channel, let me show you exactly how to achieve these looks. Here is a picture of myself that I took earlier today, and let's transform this into the MrBeast style. So inside of Camera Raw Filter, the first thing I'm gonna do is color adjustments. Now this image wasn't taken in ideal lighting. You can still see some shadows here and some highlights here. So let's turn down the contrast and just try and get a pretty even base slate to work with. We're gonna make the shadows way brighter. Let's up the exposure. We can turn up the highlights as well, just to make the image brighter. Let's bump the whites up a little bit and the blacks as well. Now you can see this looks very washed out, but that's okay. We just want to get things as even as possible when we're first starting. Let's make the image a little bit warmer and a little more pink. Let's also turn up the vibrance. If you don't know what the vibrance does, the vibrance ups the saturation in parts of the image that aren't already saturated. Saturation bumps everything, but the vibrance just takes the duller spots of the image and ups their saturation. We can now come over to texture. Let's up the texture a tiny bit. We can turn down the clarity just so that we have a little bit more smoother skin. And then when we come to dehaze here, you can really see the image come alive. I think about 16 works for this image. Let's go to the curves and up the highlights a little bit as well as the lights. There we go. Now let's go to colors. We're gonna want the picture of me to look pretty bright and vibrant and lean more into the oranges or the pinks. So let's make my lips and everything red, and then let's come to the orange, which is mostly gonna affect my skin tone, and let's lean it a little bit to the left. Then we can come over to the yellows and push it a little bit to the greener side. And then the magentas here, we can push a lot to the right. And if we zoom in, you can see the difference in the colors. If I'm just turning that one hue layer off, everything is a lot more pink. Then let's come over to saturation and bump up the reds a tiny bit. The oranges we can bump up as well because I'm gonna mess with the brightness of it. And then the yellows we can just take down, and let's take down the magentas as well. Now this is gonna be different for every picture, but these are just core principles that you should be implementing into every face retouch, especially if you want that MrBeast look. Let's come over to luminance now. We can make the reds a bit brighter as well as the oranges and the yellows. Now let's come over to the color grading section and let's mess with the midtones a little bit. I'm leaning the midtones a tiny bit to yellow because I feel like the image is slightly too pink. And then the shadows, we can bring it to this cyan color, and the highlights we can lean a little more orange. Very subtle changes, but you can see the image goes from more pink to more orange. Let's also come and turn on denoise. Now denoise is only available if you're using a raw image, but it just takes away a tiny bit of the noise in the image. Let's sharpen our image a tiny bit more, and then we can bump the luminance up slightly, and then the color as well. And this is just going to get rid of even more noise and make our skin and our image look smoother. And as you can see, here is the before and here is the after, and we're nowhere near done. A quick pause. If you're serious about improving your thumbnails, I offer one-on-one consulting calls where I teach you how to create better thumbnails and get more views. Check the links below and follow my other socials. All right, the next step, let's get rid of all the blemishes and the discoloration on my face. Simply by coming over to the lasso tool, I'm gonna just circle the areas that I think are discolored or any blemishes that I want to get rid of. This is useful for any scars, any acne, or anything on your face that you don't want to show in your thumbnail. All right, once we have all that selected, we can come over to generative fill, and we don't even need a prompt. Just click generate. Just a few seconds later, and all of the blemishes are gone. But it did do some weird things to my eyes here, so I'm just gonna come in with a soft brush and just make sure my eyes are as original and untouched as possible. Perfect. Now we can move on to whitening the eyes and the teeth. Let's come over to the adjustment layers and go to hue saturation. We can turn the saturation all the way down and up the lightness about 25. And let's create a clipping mask. And let's invert the mask. Now we can zoom in to my eyes here and just brush over the eyes just like this. Now this is very important because the eyes are the first thing that your brain sees when it sees a person. Your eyes also evoke a lot of emotion, and it just helps make everything look nicer for a thumbnail. Let's do the same thing for the teeth. And then let's come back to the eyes and make our brush black so that we can get rid of the white that's covering the actual pupils. There we go. And now we can change this to color. Let's turn it down because that is way too much. About 65. And then I'm going to duplicate this as well. And let's go to soft light. Now on the soft light layer, I'm gonna get rid of the teeth here. And just like that, the eyes and teeth are a lot brighter and a lot more visible. Next, let's do some dodging and burning. Now, if you don't know what dodging and burning is, it's a technique used to emphasize the highlights and the shadows of an image. It is a great way of manipulating light and evoking more emotion in your images. All right, same thing. Let's go to the adjustment layers. Now let's add a curves layer. Let's take the highlights and boost them up. Let's create a mask and then invert the mask. Now on a soft brush on 1 or 2% flow, we can start highlighting certain areas of my face that I want to emphasize. I usually do things like the nose, the eyes, the cheeks, and just any parts of the image that are a little too dark. Let's do the under eyes as well. Go into my lips here, add a nice highlight on the lips, and let's do the top of my hair. Now the whole point of this is to kind of contour your face and just emphasize the highlights of your face. So that's pretty intense right now, so let's turn down the opacity to about 65. Here's the before and here is the after. Now let's do the same thing but for the shadows. So let's add a curves layer, drop the shadows, create the clipping mask, invert it, and now we paint. So with shadows, I like to emphasize the hair, specifically the eyebrows, the sides of the nose just to pull the attention towards the middle, the underside of the nose, any natural smile lines. Let's do facial hair as well. And then let's just contour the face and highlight the edges of the areas, and then any spots that are too bright, we can also tone them down. Let's also come in and do my jawline just so that it emphasizes the jawline and the sides of the face slightly. And then let's do down here by my hoodie as well. And let's keep this at around 70. So with the dodging and burning done, you can see the difference. Here's the before, and here is the after. It just helps emphasize your face and draws the attention to the center of your face. Here you can already see how much of a difference this has already made, but we're not done. Next, let's select everything on our image, duplicate it, and convert it to a smart object. Now let's come to filter, camera raw filter, and let's turn down the texture, turn down the clarity a little bit, and then come over over to the noise reduction and up that a tiny bit to about 10, and the color noise reduction to about 5. And let's drop that in on top of our face. Let's create a mask, invert it, and now this is how we're gonna get our smooth skin. Now once again, with a brush, low flow, we're just gonna come to the areas that have a little too much texture and just brush over them. This is just gonna soften those areas and give us smooth skin. Now the main areas to avoid with this are the eyes, the teeth, and any hair. That's just gonna make the image look very, very fake. And if we're taking a closer look, you can see how much of a difference this makes. It's subtle, but it definitely makes the skin look smoother. Next, let's add a color balance adjustment layer. Let's switch it to highlights. Let's do about +2, +2, and -2. Very subtle adjustments, but this is just making all the color look a little bit nicer. Let's do the midtones and take the yellows to about -2, and there we go. You can see this image looks a little more pink, and once we turn this on, it looks a little more orange. And once you do that, you can see how big of a difference this makes. Just look at the before, it's all dark and you can see all the blemishes on my face. Nothing is smooth, but this just pops so much more. Now let me show you how to do the Ryan Trahan style super simply using AI. So this is going to be a very simple two-step process. Let's come to ChatGPT and insert our image. We're going to ask it a very simple prompt. So very simply, we have give me a prompt for free pick. Don't change anything about the man in @image1. Just change the lighting to resemble midday outdoor direct sunlight, casting soft shadows on the face. Let's send it through and we can just copy this prompt and head over to free pick. Now once inside free pick, let's head to the image generator. We can come here, upload the same image and paste in our prompt. Now using Google Nano Banana Pro, we can generate a ton of images until we get the style that we like. And after just a few seconds, free pick gave us 4 solid images. I like the first one the best, so let's go ahead and download this and we can drop this in. Let's remove the background. And just like that, we have a face that works perfect for these outdoor style thumbnails. You can, of course, go into camera raw filter and adjust as you'd like, but the whole point of this style is to be a little more realistic. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you learned anything new, make sure to subscribe and follow me on my other socials down below. Peace out.